Because the Bible, okay, let me explain it now. The Bible is very clear about adultery and fornication. Right. Essentially, when you marry someone, that is till death do you part. The Bible says that God hates divorce. Right. So when it says till death do you part, it means that if the person is still alive, if you're married to them, that person is your partner, your husband, wife, till one of you passes away. The Bible does mention if somebody commits adultery, then one could also divorce. But even in those cases, you could see it's how can I say? The context is that even in those cases, God would rather you not divorce because he hates divorce. So I just want to share with you what God showed me about marriage and divorce. When I was younger, I was learning, when you learn about things and you start to have this understanding about a man and a woman falling in love, and, you listen to different kinds of music and you watch movies and you think about things, think about, how you would be in a relationship with your wife. How would you try and find someone? And I keep asking God, what is this? Why is this such a major, powerful thing that I feel was within me and within everyone who is experiencing it about, a man falling in love with a woman and a woman falling in love with a man? And what God shared with me was that imagine there was just one man and one woman in the entire world. Right? When they have to come together in marriage, in union, they could create an entire world just from the two of them. They can create an entire world just by the two of them being married and having children and replenishing the earth in that way. So I think that's very powerful, right? When the Bible talks about physical relations and physical intimacy, that is only reserved for marriage. And whenever it speaks about it, talks about two becoming one flesh. It even talks about when certain men go to prostitutes. The Bible is saying, like, why are you making your flesh one with that prostitute? Which means that your physical bodies there's a fusion that's happening. I emphasize it's supposed to be for only marriage, right? So when somebody gets married, your soul is making a vow. So your souls are combined. When you consummate that marriage, your bodies and spirits are combined. In the eyes of God, in the spiritual world and the physical world, you are one. Till death do you part. Meaning, if one of the partners commits adultery, it is literally like you ripping flesh apart, or like you desecrating a sacred union. So from my understanding, God would rather you have that union repaired instead of you separating. But because it is such an insult and a degradation of that union when someone commits adultery, that's why God is saying, in that case, you can. But from my understanding, it's better if you don't, for those reasons. Let me speak about this further, about this union. In the same breath, like I said, the Bible only gives two reasons for a husband and a wife to part. That is, number one, death, number two, adultery. In the case of Joni Lamb, from my understanding, the man that she married divorced his wife and said afterwards that it was not because she was unfaithful. This means that that is still his wife. His first wife is still his wife in the spiritual realm and physical realm. In the world, in the eyes of God, that first wife is still his wife. Meaning also, his body belongs to her and her body belongs to him. So he does not have authority. This word authority is being used here. You'll see quite often. But I'm saying he does not have the authority to give his body to someone else, which is why the union of him and Joni Lamb is adulterous. Because he still has a wife, and he also does not have the authority to marry someone else in the eyes of God. So even if maybe they convinced themselves contractually with worldly contracts that they married, no, your first wife is still your wife. That second marriage is invalid from my understanding. It's invalid in the eyes of God. And that is what is convicting Jonathan and Susie. They're like, the Bible is clear. Your first wife did not commit adultery. So that is still your wife. So you should have, your marriage, so-called marriage to Joni, is invalid. And adultery is one of the foundations of the Ten Commandments. It's one of the foundational ideas of God, which are the Ten Commandments,